Okay. All right, let me get my little spiel. Welcome everyone to another episode of Geek Vibes Interview brought to you by Geek Vibes Nation. I'm your host, Don Fisher, and today I have with me actor, screenwriter, producer, director, podcaster, with his most recent films being the Dare and Arthur and Merlin Knights of Camelot, the multi-talented Giles Alderson. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you so much. I'm good, Dom. I really appreciate that intro. That felt good. Though I act very much less nowadays. It's very much directing, producing, screenwriting. It's interesting. It just evolved that way once I started directing, properly, if you like. The Dare actually happened. It was like, right, okay, I'm doing this now, and it's kind of nice. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Was that a was that a seamless transition from like acting into directing, or was it like some steps you had to take?
It was a lot of steps. It wasn't easy at all. It was really difficult. I mean, it's like, why is just because you act a bit, you've been in some movies, bit of telly, no one's going to go, oh, well, of course you can direct. No
Right.
worries. There's not like 500 other directors that morning before you who'd already put an email into someone, So you've really got to work at it. You've really got to hone your craft and get good, understand how the camera works, even though you know it from the other side of the camera. But it's really
Right.
important that you can tell a story with the camera, not just hit your mark and say your lines and don't hit the furniture, Now you've got to tell the actors to do that as well as working out where the camera moves go. So yeah, there's quite a lot to it, quite a lot.
And if people listening don't realize, Giles is in the UK, so we have a 6 hour difference. I believe it's
Yeah,
around 4 o'clock for you. It's around 10 a.m. for me. But I'm
yeah.
glad that you we were able to join us. How has it been for you during this whole COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah. Oh God, it hasn't stopped. It's just like this. Everything just sort of got on top. Everyone just closed, and it became difficult. But what I did, which was great, was that I practiced and learnt over this time, read lots of books, and I prepped a load of projects, finished off the scripts for those, really tidied budgets. So I was very productive. I run a podcast as well, the Filmmakers Podcast, and on that we spend a lot of time talking to filmmakers. So I was like, well, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do that as well. So that's kind of what I did, is a lot of effort and time and put that into making making movies, or hopefully the next step is that we can actually get back to making movies. But at least I'm at a position where I've got everything ready. The scripts are tight now, tiny
Right.
bits of tweaks, budgets are ready, packs are done, vision packs are done, so now it's a case of let's see if we can put them over the line.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I was thinking about. I was like, we all know that this whole thing has been terrible, but depending on your craft, it you can have time to kind of, like you said, finish some things, hone in some things, perfect some stories and whatnot. I mean, I know for myself, it's give me a little bit more time to catch up on watching some things I wanted to watch, and the
Mm.
things that because a lot of times we all in this field have to focus on these big movies and big TV shows, and you're like, well, I wanted to watch this thing, and I don't have the time, and now I was able to go back and focus on the things that I really wanted to watch.
Mm.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
there's always a silver. I try to find a silver lining in most things, and that was
Yeah.
mine.
I think that's so true. I think we've all caught up on a load of movies, and because The Dare came out in America in March, it was great because it meant that so many people actually sat down and watched it. Whereas normally, yeah, you might not have got that many people. It might have, but it's unlikely. And the fact that people just went, oh, what else is on? Let's look for another horror. Oh, that one looks good. Or they might come back to it the next day or the day after and go, yeah, let's go on. Let's watch it this time. Whereas before you'd move on, there'd be something else new. And that kept us in, doing really well. Business was good, and also keeping at the top of the charts was huge. It was massive, just being in and around all these big movies that got released. And as is, technically it's an independent movie,
Right.
and it's nice to be up with the big boys and just knocking on the door a little bit and going, oh yeah, we're here as well.
Yeah, and that was one of the my main focal points for whatever I was writing or doing podcasts was just to mention to people that if you're gonna watch VOD, video on demand, while you're quarantining, take a chance on some of these films that aren't the big blockbusters because we know what the blockbusters are gonna be. They're catered to you're gonna enjoy this, and while there is art, the art isn't as they're not able to. The directors and producers aren't able to take the leisure to kind of do some of the things they want to because like, hey, this movie needs to make $1 billion, so that thing you wanted to do, you can't do it. And then we have some of the more independent films, some of the smaller studios are able to actually let the artist be the artist, and you get these amazing movies, but they don't have the push like a big studio would.
Yes, we don't get the marketing spend. So to be honest, that's one small good thing about the lockdown is the fact that a lot of independent movies got seen.
Yeah.
A lot of independent filmmakers went, oh, okay. A lot of distributors also went, all right, well, that's okay. Yeah, we can survive on this. What happens next is the big thing. How do films carry on? How do we keep going? And actually, what's brilliant that happened yesterday in the UK was that the government have sorted those grants out for insurance so that we can carry on filming, because it was a big problem. It was 10% was all you could get back if you were closed down for COVID. And on an independent film, you're done. You know, if you stop filming, it's done. We can't afford to come back and shoot. So the fact that the government have now launched this, or it's launching, is incredible. It means even though a lot of films were going back into production and TV, it just means that we can all actually go, oh, I can go back to investors and go, yeah, we're good. Look, the government is saying we're covered. So if anything does happen, God forbid, that you can then at least go, give us, 14 days, we're all going to quarantine, and then we can come back on it. We've all just got to think around all this. We've just got to keep, people still want content. People love content. They want more, new, exciting, so you've got to think around how we can do that, whether that's two people in a room or whether that's, filming it on Zoom, like the host did, just having exciting movies and fresh and going, how can we do it? How can we carry on making good content now, especially in the horror world, the sci-fi world,
Yeah, and that's what I was, I was as I was researching you some more, I realized that a lot of your work is in like the sci-fi horror realm, and for me, that's kind of like, especially horror, that's where I kind of like plant my poem, like this is my thing.
This is your home.
And a lot of people don't realize that, especially with like the Dare, a lot of horror movies aren't just there for the shock value. There's always a lesson that can be learned from horror, and a lot of times the horror helps because like, hey, you did this thing that's bad, look what can happen to you. And that's kind of what I got out of the Dare is that, things that you, whether you do it in the future, the present, the past, sometimes there's going to be a price to pay for negative things you put out in the world, negative things you've said, negative things you've done to people. And since it is, getting close to spooky season, October is like a week away, 2 weeks away.
Literally, yeah.
I think it is good for people if they haven't seen the Dare to go and to watch it and to also revisit it because, one of the things I put in my review that I thought was interesting was the mask he was wearing is perfect for a lasting type of franchise if you were to go forward with it because, every horror franchise we see, whether it's, Jason or Michael or Chucky, there's an iconic figure face for those franchises. And the Dare, when I remember seeing it, I was like, that's really creepy. Like, I don't like this is especially like anything without a face, per se is gonna creep people out more, especially if you saw it in person and you're like, I don't know what that is, and it has no face. So is it looking at me? Is it looking over there? Like, what do I do?
Yeah, masks are freaky. It was something that we wanted in from the early sort of synopsis of this movie when I first started writing in this loft here. When I had there were two little ideas I had, and one of them was 4 people trapped in a basement. That's all it said. And then there was other ideas. And then further down the list was old man and a young boy in the house. Why are they there? they're not related. And I was just trying to find an idea. One day I was like, I need a horror. And I just looked through my list and I went, why don't I put them two together? And literally, it was almost like, it was so weird because they're just so simple. There's no story there. And it literally, something just clicked in my mind. I went, oh my God, they're all connected. I know that can be that can be that. And this means that. And I just, it blurred out of me within, like 20 minutes. And I was from there now, suddenly I had that treatment of a script. And I was like, wow, I can actually, this has got legs. I could shoot this here. I could shoot this in my garden if I had to, if we really want, because that's what's important when you're trying to make a movie, is how can you make the movie? Because it's great to write a brilliant script or a terrible script, whatever, you're going out to do it, but how do you get the money for it? How do you actually shoot it? So if you can write something that has the ability that you could do that on your own, you could get your mates together and you could still have a good movie, then that's really important when writing it. So the fact that we came up with this idea and knowing that the mask was involved in the first place, I then brought Johnny Grant on to help me write it, because that's kind of what he does, whereas I'm a director who also writes. And together we just, within a month, we had the full script, and it was just like, wow. And that mask was, we kind of just described it as I think we just wrote something like, this is one of the worst masks you've ever seen, something terrible like that. But we knew it was going to be horrible. And it was my producer, Julian Kostov, who suggested putting larvae in the actual skin, because the idea is it's the skin of someone. And he suggested, why don't we, and he looked it up, this certain larvae that can live inside skin. And he showed me it and I went, that's disgusting. And it went, perfect. So we decided to pepper the mask. So you can't, unless you really look at it close, you go, oh, there they are. There's loads of them all peppered around the forehead, the eye, the cheeks. But from a distance, you just go, what is that? Because it's a mask, but it's like, it's not just a normal skin mask or that, it's got bits in it. It's also got teeth in it, and it's got an eyeball, but you'd only know that, like I say, if I'm telling you, or if you pause it and look, because I didn't necessarily do any close-ups of that mask. I wanted it to be, what is going on? And like you say, you can't really see the eyes. You certainly can't see the mouth. You don't know what this freak, who's a big muscly guy, is thinking. And that was really important. So, the moment of reveal, maybe the mask comes off in this movie, is supposed, wanted it to be a powerful moment.
Yeah. And I think a great part is that, like, when you bring someone in with you to watch a horror film, they always feel like, I know what's going to happen. And that was what I liked about this one, is that I wasn't sure. I thought I knew. And then I was like, no, wait, that doesn't make sense either. So if this happens, and wait. So see what? And so it kept me guessing. And I was so once I finally, when I did start to figure it out, I think it was like towards like the third act, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, see, I messed up. You shouldn't have been messing with the guy. See, that's what happened.
Yeah. And it's something you said at the beginning, and this is something I really wanted to have as a message, is if you are a bit of a shit when you're younger, if you're a bully, do you know what? Life will come back and hurt you. Do you know what? Have a word with yourself. You can't act like this. Don't behave like this. And I wanted this to be a message, because I know that, it's an 18, but people younger will be watching this, and fair play. I did, you did, we all watched horror movies when we weren't allowed, and that's the point. But if I can get through to any of them to just maybe question their motives when they're seeing someone bullying, or when they're seeing someone in danger or doing something, for me, that is just, it's one of the messages that's in there, in the Dare. And yeah, I'm glad it came across. I'm glad you got that in the review, which was I was so happy about, because it is important. It's not just a guy with an axe or a knife torturing people in a basement. There's more to it than that. And that's what I wanted to get across. And of course, it's a horror film. Of course, people are going to go down a corridor when you're going, why would you do that? Of course, someone's going in a house when you go, why? Of course, it's a horror film. You've got to have those moments of people being silly. But do you know what I've realized? You think that is crazy, but yet people will all convene during COVID and have, mass events and parties and whatever. So it's hey, someone going down in a basement is nothing. I'm going to follow this creepy man down here. Are you? Yes. Either that or I have to wear a mask. Which will it be?
Right. And I think a really big aspect of it too is of that movie is that you empathize with the masked guy. Like you like clearly
Mm.
he shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time, like Jay is kind of an asshole. I don't know, like
Yeah, we wrote
like
it that way. Yeah.
they seem like they don't really feel too remorseful. They just like they're remorseful, like, oh, we shouldn't have done this, but it's too late, and now you feel kind of sorry. But he was like, I don't care. I gotta do what I gotta do. So you're like, who's really the bad guy? Well, I mean, one clearly shouldn't be doing something, but it's like I understand why,
Mm-hmm.
especially with him being with Richard Brake's character, because that Richard Brake, for one, is
Yeah.
a fantastic actor, and every scene that he does is always really intense, especially in a film like The Dare.
Yeah.
So yeah, this kid who was bullied, and then he ends up with Richard Brake. Like, I mean, you can't really fault him for his how he turned out.
No, totally, totally. But I want it, myself and Johnny wanted that from the very beginning when we started to write it, of saying we want the audience to have empathy with the certain characters we wanted them to have empathy for, not your usual, well, they're supposed to be the hero of this story. And we wanted to flip it on its head a little bit and make you at the end of the movie come out and go, I thought that guy was an asshole. So I was quite glad that that happened to him, or that person happened to that, or, you know, is the baddie really a baddie? You know, was his did the circumstance make him like that? Did they make him like that? And that to me was so important. I wanted that conversation. We actually had a different ending originally, where we'd written a different ending, where something totally different happens,
Okay.
and that the studio just went, it's not commercial enough. It would have worked brilliantly in the UK. It was a
Right.
very British ending to this movie, but it's no, the world in America, you know, we've got to go for something different. So I
Right.
compromised with the ending, and sort of gave it two endings. But anyway, there's a sequel now because of that, potentially. So otherwise there wouldn't have been if the other ending had happened. So
Nice.
yeah, without being giving too much away, you
Right.
know.
Um. So that's now. How did you kind of get started in this industry? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was it? Because I know, being in the UK and in America, people kind of the routes can be easier or more difficult depending on where you are. And I know in here a lot of people go straight to film school
Mm.
and things like that, or you might fall into a play and you're like, oh, I love this thing. So how was the start for you?
I I wanted to be a football player, soccer player, and I happened to be in the school plays. That was something I quite enjoyed the acting. It was, I remember my mate Neil asking me at one point, when you're older, what do you want to be, a footballer or an actor? And I said, an actor, because your career can be longer. I mean, just making it up, no idea. But they were the two things I wanted to do. Um, and while I was at football team here in the UK for a while. It's, you know, a decent team and going up through the ranks as a youth player, but I just really wasn't, I suppose, good enough. But I also dislocated my shoulder, and it stopped me playing for a while. And I remember the careers teacher said, well, what do you want to do? I went, I'm going to be a footballer. She went, yeah, okay. What do you want to do? And I went, I'm going to do anything else. And she said, well, I'm going to put you on this course for performing arts and filmmaking and whatnot. And I said, all right, whatever, I'm going to be a footballer, so I don't care, type thing. And I went on this course and I saw the guys who were getting the lead roles, getting the girls, having an amazing time. And I went, I want that. And the bug got me. I fell in love with that whole world of being creative. And that was it. I went, I have to make this a career. And then got into acting and did that for, you know, a good 10 years of lots of decent films. And luckily I managed to cross over. I was in The Damned United, which is a football movie. So I got to play football and act. So again, I got to be a professional footballer in a movie, which was kind of cool. And I did some lots of telly, and there was this thing inside me that I wanted to create my own work and constantly writing stuff. And I put plays on at the Royal Court and the Young Writers Program at Soho. And it was always something I just did. And people said, you should direct these. And I went, no, I'm a performer. I'm not going to direct. It's going to get in the way. And we were making a pilot for the BBC, and the director pulled out last minute, and I went, fine, I'm going to do this. And I asked a DP friend of mine who I'd never thought would do it in a million years, because he's a big DP and director of photography. And he said, yes. He went, and I'm also going to bring my brilliant camera and all my brilliant team. And suddenly this little pilot became this beautiful, amazing thing that we shot. And sadly, it didn't go ahead. But what it did do was give me my love for filmmaking and my love for directing and creating things. And from that moment, I said, I have to make this a career. I have to be a director or a filmmaker, producer. This is what I want more than in front of the camera. And then I spent the next 10 years doing that, of fighting every corner, trying to meet the right people, meeting the wrong people. Most of the time when you're starting out, there's a lot of people who tell you they can make your movie come true and make it happen, and they often can't, or they're balancing your film off another one. So you've got to be really careful, get contracts, get things in place. And it was only, I've learned that now. And obviously no one would take a chance on me because I hadn't made a movie. It didn't matter how many I'd been in, and I'd been in a lot of horror movies myself, some lead roles, and it didn't matter. They wanted you to prove. So I set about writing my own stuff constantly, and got a lot of knockbacks, a lot of failures, and a lot of problems, and a lot of hurt. And eventually I was in this loft and I came up with a Dare, and that's a longer story about how we got it made, but it was a lot of hard work. But eventually, got it to the right people at B2Y, and with a lot of me talking about how I could make this movie, why they should believe in me, a lot of pitch decks, a lot of script work, a lot of video reels, rip reels, whatever, to prove that I could do this. That's my journey of how I got into it and became a filmmaker.
No, and that's great too, because I oftentimes speak about a lot of especially in America, it seems to be like, which I know a lot of industries are about who you know, but in Hollywood, we see a lot of the same, or not the same actor, but the same writers, same producers, and it's like we keep seeing the same films, over and over, because it's the same people, and it's like, you guys gonna give other people a shot, and with you working that way, zigzagging through your to get to this point, it's refreshing, because we're getting newer things, we're getting fresh stories, because that's what we want. People, it's not just the content; we want original content, we want thought-provoking content. And we don't always get that, because it is a lot of, well, we know this will work, so we'll do this thing again and again.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that something like the Dare could even break through and people like it, because it is an original idea. It's just, and there's so many horror films come out every month, every week, every day sometimes these days. And to just rise above a little bit in any way is incredible. It's really incredible, without the big, like you say, the big marketing spend behind it. Why is anyone going to hear of your movie? And it's sites like yours that champion movies like this, and therefore we get heard a little bit, and that's important. It's really important that we all support each other and do that. So I know I do that with my podcast, is I'm always supporting indie filmmakers and talking about their projects, and it really is, it's important.
So I know you. I got a chance to watch Arthur Merlin, Knights of Camelot, and and it was. I've always was interested in that time period, especially growing up. I feel like most kids in my generation, at some point, were like infatuated with the whole Knights of the Round Table aspect.
Yes.
And it's so weird that the film timing and TV show timing, with you dropping that, and then the what's the Netflix show, like Enchanted?
Oh yeah,
totally. And I was like, this is so weird. I just watched this movie, and then this show comes out, and I was like, what is there, like some secret, like, hey, I'm doing one, but like, you just wait a minute, and we got this.
There actually is. There's it's not really a coincidence. I mean, a lot of these companies know that a big movie's coming out. Guy Ritchie's what was it, the big Robin Hood movie that came out last year, the year before? Well, plenty of companies went, right, let's get another Robin Hood out, knowing they can piggyback off the back of
Right.
bigger films.
Okay.
The sad thing is, and always the way, is there's so many Arthur and Merlin type movies. It's very difficult to stand out with anything different without a decent budget. It's very, very difficult. But yes, that's why you often see two films that are very similar come out at the same time. They go, oh, that's a good idea, and let's see who wins, and they can bounce off each other's publicity. Event Horizon and what's the other end of the world film that happened? It was the same year. This kind of thing happens all the time. It's
Right.
especially with the lower budget, stuff. Then you've got your big movies, and then there's a load of lower budget people going, let's do one, right? I know, we'll get a castle somewhere. Let's go shoot. That was a lot of fun, and again, brilliant to bring Richard Brake onto that. It was a really nice phone call I made to him. And I said, look, Rich, what are you up to? And he said, hey, I'm not, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, listen, I'm doing Arthur and Merlin. It's in Wales. It's raining a lot here. Would you come and play Merlin for me? He went, oh my God, wow. When I was a kid, I dreamt of being Merlin. And he did. He told me this whole story of the castle where we shot. As a kid, Richard Brake used to play there
Oh,
with
wow.
plastic swords and run around pretending to be King Arthur. He said he grew up in where we were shooting all the stuff that he was in. He said, I dreamt of being King Arthur and playing Merlin. He said, I get to play Merlin. I said, yeah, you do. I said, by the way, have you got long hair and a beard right now? And he went, as a matter of fact, I do. I said, get on a plane. Let's go. Amazing. He's so great. And it was nice for him to play something different, a bit nicer. I know he's played those before, but for people to see him do that, and for me to work with him on that, and he's such a great guy, so that was good.
I noticed that him and was it Bart Edwards? You worked with them a couple different times. Is
Yeah,
that
Richard
like
Short as well. Yeah, Dan Schutzman.
yeah? So is that because I noticed that if you look at like Seth Rogen's movies, Adam Sandler's movie, they call their buddies and like, hey, what are you doing? We're gonna do this film. Is that kind of something you were like, hey, we work together on a project, we work together, you'd be great in this?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I'm all for new people. I'm always auditioning and finding people. But if you work well with people and you like them, a movie set can be a very difficult place to be. There's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of people can get there's so much pressure that the tensions can rise and things can go wrong, and you've got to be up for that challenge. You've got to not lose your rag. You've got to be cool, and people can be difficult. People can suddenly start going, I don't want to do it, and causing problems which you don't need. So if you find really good people who love working with you, and they trust what you're going to bring as a director, and you trust their performances, yeah, it totally makes sense to work with them again. I never set out to do that. It just was one of those things when I went, right, who could be King Arthur? Well, Richard Short would be amazing King Arthur. Suggest him to the team. The team go, well, yeah, if you can get him. And I go, I think I can get him. I know him. And the same with Emily Haig, the same. All these people it's like, I can ask. It's an easier ask, and I know their ability as performers. So it's nice to do that. And they're all, what's really nice as well, is doing really well. From when the Dare we shot 4 years ago, and it's only just coming out in the UK now, is crazy. But the fact that I've known them that long, and the fact that their careers have gone through the roof, some of them, is incredible. Bart, been in The Witcher and now Singapore Grip. Richard Short's doing Macbeth with Denzel Washington, and so many others. Emily Hayes got her own producing company. They're all working well. Deborah Wild, doing massive stuff now. Rob Master was in 1917. So all these, it's just a joy. It's amazing that I picked them, if you like. They came in, they were brilliant for the audition, and I was like, yeah, brilliant for the roles. Let's work with them. So I'm all for that. And me and Richard Short got another project together. I've worked with Bart on something else, so it hasn't come out yet. I'm sure I'll work with them all again. It's a nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always great to see like your friends or people you like a lot, like succeeding.
Totally.
It's a great feeling. I
Yeah.
saw. It looks like you've been staying busy over the past years. You have a lot of projects kind of in the works, and one that kind of stuck out to me, which I don't know, I couldn't find a date if it was actually had released or you're still working on it, but it was the Food for Thought.
Yeah. So
Uh,
this is our documentary. So this is our documentary about the environment, about animal welfare, and about the plant-based lifestyle. And it's something that I've been passionate about for a long time, but I didn't know what to do about it. And then I thought, well, hang on, I'm making movies now. Why aren't I making a movie about something I really care about? So I got together with Dan Richardson, who I've known for years and years, and he's Big Born Free ambassador. And I said, look, why don't we make a documentary about what's happening now? And back when we started that, which 2018, I think, when we first put that together, it wasn't that easy to get a vegan meal anywhere. Greta Thunberg hadn't arrived yet. COVID hadn't kicked in. So 2019 was a huge year for plant-based options, and for moving forward with everyone understanding, oh, the environment's actually important. Shit, we should probably cut down on our meat consumption. And so what we're doing is we're just telling the story of people who have their lives have changed from this. And we went around the world and shot a load of really interesting, fascinating people with this documentary. We're now deep in the edit, and we've got a little bit more to shoot. Obviously, we got stopped for COVID, so we're doing as much as we can online, but we really don't want to be filming it online. So we've now just got the last bits to shoot, which we're going to do in the next couple of weeks, and then get the final edit together. And we're hoping for a release, or for us to put it out at Christmas, and we're going to self-release it. Makes sense. We know the market, we know how to do that. So yeah, that's really been interesting to do. Just something I'm really passionate about and care about. As much as it's brilliant fun making horror movies, the message about bullying is really important. This is another message, so I think that it's good to do it. It's good to pay it
yeah,
back.
and I feel like I think that's why it jumped out to me, because it does, even though the horror genre in this documentary is so visibly opposite, but I think what I've noticed in your work is there's an underlying message that kind of stands out. And I myself, I'm not necessarily vegan, but I have over the past couple of years, doing research and listening to people who are in the lifestyle. So, I'm like, you know what? I actually can cut down on my consumption. I already didn't eat that much, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I can, cut it down to eat meat once, twice a week instead of like maybe every night or whatever. So yeah, I think that's one of those things. If it's presented in a way that uh, people can like, oh, they're talking to me and not shaming me, and I think that's why people kind of run
Yes.
away, is because they feel people are shaming them all the time.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that. There's so many documentaries out there that do that shame people for eating meat or doing, whatever it is in the environment. And we wanted to do a documentary that just told the facts as much as we know them, and best that they can be, is this is the effect it can have. And we're not showing any graphic content. There's none of that. It's literally, this is the difference you could make if you don't have meat for a week. We got we got about 40 people to go vegan for a month, and we documented that. So we got them to do videos every day, and it was just fascinating, so interesting about, they're all like, I can't do this is going to be difficult. And in the end they're going, oh God, this is easy. And then we presented them how many animal lives they'd saved, how much water they'd saved in the environment, which goes on to the animals, which goes into the travel of, everything to get that to the supermarket so they can eat it. So once we showed them all that, their footprint, they were literally amazed. It was incredible, the amount that they'd saved in that month. And that's going to be a very powerful thing to show in a documentary. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. It's been a passion, and we're getting there. So thank you for
Is that
asking.
is that? Oh yeah, for sure. Is that one of like, uh, a passion project, like one of the ones where you're like, this is that thing that, when it's all said and done, one of the most important things that I've filmed.
I definitely think so. Yeah. Food for thought will be that, because it's got a proper message. It's literally, come on, we can save the planet. We can
Yeah,
make a difference in our lives now. You don't need to kill animals to survive. And you do all that and you lay it down. You go, yeah, it's true. And we're making the world a better place. Okay, I think I can deal with that. you know, you don't hear anyone, you know, necessarily dying of kind of protein deficiency. So I
Right.
think we're all right. You know what I mean? It's like, we're fine. I get my protein elsewhere. It's all right. So there's just ways of doing it now. And I think as a filmmaker, I wanted to do that. I wanted to have my message, my voice heard, that is, you know, we can make a difference.
Yeah, hopefully it can be widely seen over here because I mean, you know, I don't want to talk down on Americans, 'cause I'm an American, but hard headed. We don't like being told what to do, and you can give somebody, you know, hey, I'll give you this $1,000,000 if you go vegan for a month. Nah, I'm gonna eat meat because I
Me, I
can.
like my meat. I like my meat.
It's like
Yeah.
no, because you know I do buy like the chicken alternative,
Oh,
bean
okay.
burgers and things like
Yeah.
that, and it's not much different, honestly. From
It's
what I
not
was
weird.
researching, a lot of the time is that it's not the meat that people like; it's the
Taste.
flavoring.
It's the taste.
Yeah, so if we can flavor whatever to taste like this
So of
burger,
course you can. Yeah. You know, it's you strip all that away. You have a KFC without any of that stuff on it. Really, you'd want to eat that? This
right, right,
rubbery, water-based. What is that? You know,
right.
when you think of it that way, you go, oh, okay, it's just the coating you like the
Hmm.
taste of, that finger licking thing that they talk about. That's not from the chicken, that's from the shit that's on
Right.
it. So you put the good stuff of that onto, you know, any, you know, plant-based product, and it just tastes as good. You get used to it, man, and it's so
Yeah,
good now. And there's so many things that do really, you know, Beyond Meat is amazing, you know, that
yeah,
are in our documentary. We went to see them in LA in their offices, and they showed us how it worked, and the advancements now for us as humans, yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. But it's such a big business. We know why the governments want us to keep eating it. We know, you know, why McDonald's want us to keep eating it. It's
right.
huge business. And that pharmaceuticals side of that, when we get ill, well, that's another big business, you know. So they're not exactly stopping it, but it's more people are getting wary of it and aware. So yeah, telling that story.
That's great. What what is your favorite aspect of the industry? Since you've been basically everything you could be, you've acted, you've produced, you've written,
Mm.
you've directed. What is kind of the one that is now the calling to you that you're like, you know what, this is where I'm meant to be?
On set, I love being on a movie set. There's nothing better. There's just so much going on. There's people doing stuff, you know, all for the sake of an actor to stand and then move forward into camera and say a line or whatever it is. But there's so much that if it's not like theater, you know, there's all the makeup people, there's all the costume people, there's the first AD, there's the seconds, there's let alone the DOP and all his team, lighting team, you know, the best boy, they're all moving around to get this shot that can fit into the story of just a little piece of this film. And you just think, oh my God. And then you put in blood or special effects or a fight in the middle of that. Oh my God, there's so much can go wrong. And there's so much to think about. That's where I thrive. That's where I'm in my element going, I am here now. This is it. There's nothing else is on my mind but this now, and getting this the best it could be for what we have around us. That's special. That nothing really beats that. When you just nothing can get in. Nothing. Doesn't matter if someone comes up and goes, "Oh, tomorrow's location's gone. What are you going to do about it?" You go, "Well, I'll do something about it in a bit. I'm going to get this first, or whatever." Or you have to deal with it. But it's your brain is on fire. You have to think of so many things all at once. Get asked thousands of questions, and you still have to deliver and get your actor to perform in the right way that you want. Again, you might not necessarily need to do that. They might be amazing already, but most of the time that's your job. But yeah, it's like that's the tip of the iceberg, really. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome, man. So what future projects do you have coming up in the next year and a half?
Well, there's talk of the Dare sequel. It's been going on for a little while now. It did really well in Holland. It did big business in cinemas in Holland. Don't ask me why. I just amazing news. Thank you. Hong Kong, it did really well. Obviously, it did good and it did well in the US and hopefully in the UK coming up. It's out on 5th of October here. So there was a lot of talk about the sequel. They were like, well, look, it's done well. Do you want to do another one? So me and Johnny came up with the concept for a sequel, and we didn't want to go too far away from the original story because that's what the fans like. So you're like, well, let's not go crazy and make this set in a book tavern or whatever. I'm just trying to think of something good. Is keep it in line. So with the original, so we're looking at that now. We'll see if that goes. We don't know. And I've got a Shakespeare adaptation I'm looking at, and I have, interestingly, one comedy horror, which is a lot of fun, Christmas comedy horror, and then I have an out-and-out comedy, which I've been writing over lockdown, and it's very different from my work before, but it's great. It's really fun British comedy. So yeah, there's lots of things bouncing. Like I said, I've been very proactive and just keeping my head down and just keeping the calls to people and the Zoom meetings and the script writing and just focusing on getting things moving, and the investor talks and all that. So yeah, so fingers crossed one of those 4 goes in January, but again, we don't know. Things fall down and change all the time. We might be having another lockdown in the UK, so who knows? But yeah, I can't wait to get back on set. I've actually, saying that, I'm producing a movie which starts filming in 2.5 weeks. That's called Repeat. It's a sci-fi, really cool sci-fi that I came on board. The guy got in contact through the podcast, listened to the podcast, Filmmakers Podcast, and said, hey, can you give me any advice? And I went, send me it, let me have a look. I read it, I went, this is really good. I'll come and properly help you. And he said, that'd be amazing. And I brought Lucinda on, who's the producer of Arthur and Merlin. And now suddenly we're shooting that in 2.5 weeks. And there's another project I'm exec producing. And also, I came on as co-producer of a movie starring Danny Trejo, which is called Bullets of Justice. Now, the trailer dropped like 2 days ago, and it's been around for a while, this movie, but it's done all the festivals, but it didn't have the right home. So myself and Julia, my producer of The Dare, took it on and took it to the same distributors as The Dare, the Horror Collective, who said, yeah, we love this, let's do it. And that's coming out on October the 15th. So yeah, it's been a busy year, but that's batshit crazy, that one. That's crazy, set in World War III, and there's pigs versus humans. It's very vegan in a sense, but they didn't set out for that, I tell you what. But it's hilarious. It's so stupid. So yeah, there's lots.
Busy man.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you on social media and your podcast?
Yeah, you can find me. I'm mainly Twitter's my main. It's at Giles Alderson, and then Instagram's the same. And then the podcast is the Filmmakers Podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. But if you go to thefilmmakerspodcast.com, got a whole back catalogue of about over 180 podcasts now, all with amazing filmmakers who've made movies. Massive people, from Fernando Meirelles, who did The Two Popes, City of God, Mark Strong, big actor who's been in The Kingsman. Oh my God, the list goes on. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now. It's just many amazing filmmakers, and so many indie filmmakers. Some have made their movies for nothing. Some have made them, big studio movies. So it's an amazing resource if you're a filmmaker. So do head there. Or follow that at Filmmakers Pod on Twitter. Yeah.
Well, man, I really appreciate being able to sit down with me. I was hoping it would happen at some point, and I was like, oh, okay, he liked it. Maybe he'll reach out. Oh, he did.
He did. I reached out. Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate it a lot, because I really want everyone to realize and appreciate the artist's work, and not just the huge names that we've known for 30 years. There's so many great filmmakers, writers, producers that are just now blowing up, like yourself. And I have a friend who's a writer on a TV show, and that show's now starting to like really blow up. And I'm like, yo, we got to do an interview so everybody can know the people behind all these great things and not just the people we see on the screen. So like,
Mm.
again, I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure, and I appreciate you again. Thank you for your amazing review. Thank you for spending the time with me and letting me waffle on about my endeavors. But yeah, thank you, man. It's great what you do. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. And everyone, make sure you check out the Dare. Like I said, Halloween, the spooky season's coming up. Arthur and Merlin, Knights of Camelot, great movie. Check it out, and then just check out his catalog. If you go on this IMDb and you just look at the catalog, you'll find something you love. There's a lot on there. But yeah, until next time, have a good one. Stay safe, and yeah, see you next time.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.